Hi, beautiful people. If you're new here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. This is the Sincerely Cast podcast, and I am your host, Cassandra. I'm a licensed mental health counselor. I'm a dog mom. I'm a sister. I'm a friend. I'm a daughter. I'm an overthinker. And most importantly, I'm a millennial or whatever. If you are a millennial and you're looking to dive deeper into dating, socials, parenthood, finance, what to have for breakfast, this is the place for you. I'm so happy to have you tuned in today because in this episode, we're going to talk about burnout, a topic that a lot of millennials know too well or are experiencing too well. So I'm actually recovering from a long weekend out. Let me tell you, it's just been way too long. It's been a super long weekend that I'm actually looking forward to working because it's going to give me like a little bit more structure. This was a long ass weekend. Like now that I'm actually recalling the details, long week. I was traveling on Tuesday. Wednesday was the only time that I kind of had to unwind. I even worked out that day. Thursday festivities, Friday festivities, Saturday festivities, and here we are now. And listen, I'm 31. I'm not a spring chicken no more, and my body is feeling it. It's feeling it, but ironically, I'm also like zoomies. So that's kind of that. But we are going to talk about burnout today. Just want to say this on the record. These episodes are not therapy and should not be used in therapy in any way, shape, or form. I'm coming at you as a millennial, someone who does not necessarily have things figured out. So there are going to be some things that we can reflect on, that you can explore maybe on your own time, but it's not actual therapy. So please don't use the episodes as therapy. And also, to add the cherry on top, I've been, recovering, trying to recover from a weekend out or whatever. So much so that my food of choice, sour cream, chips. Listen, give me all the carbs right now. I don't care if they're good or bad. I just need something in my system. Side note, I actually upgraded my phone and I went out yesterday and the screen cracked. But it was just a screen protector, but still now I have to just look at this cracked line every time I look at my phone. It's not ideal. I can't unsee it. But I think I could just go back to T-Mobile and they give me a new one free of charge. At least that's what I understood. I'm going to try let you guys know next week, I guess, if it worked. That being said, grab your drink of choice. We're going to get cozy. I'm drinking a peach tea with some honey, and it's giving life. And we're going to dive right in. Let's dive right in. I'm gonna get some of like the boring stuff out of the way. So I figured I would break it down what burnout is. It's gonna get a little robotic right now, but I feel like a lot of the times we're like, oh, we're so burnt out. We're so burnt out. Millennials are like perfect for utilizing terms that we don't actually know how to define. But I'll give you an example of it though. So I'm gonna break down what burnout is. So bear with me. Burnout is a state of chronic physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion that arises from prolonged stress, particularly in work or caregiving roles. It often develops when someone feels overwhelmed by responsibilities, underappreciated, or lacks a sense of control over their environment. That just described every millennial and me living at my parents' house. I just want to be appreciated. No, because this definition actually slapped. I feel so seen and heard right now. Burnout actually has three main characteristics. You have emotional exhaustion, which is a deep sense of fatigue and depletion that isn't alleviated by rest. We're going to get into that in a little bit. It's the feeling of being too tired to function, even after a weekend or vacation. Kind of crazy. The second characteristic is depersonalization or cynicism, which is a sense of detachment or negative, cynical attitude towards one's work or responsibilities. This can lead to viewing people and tasks as burdensome or frustrating rather than rewarding. Sounds like every parent on the planet, like, get those damn kids out of here. The third main characteristic is reduced personal accomplishment, which is a feeling of ineffectiveness or lack of fulfillment in one's role. Even completing tasks doesn't bring satisfaction, and it may seem that one's efforts make little to no difference. I fear we are all living the same life. Burnout can extend beyond the workplace, impacting physical health, relationships, and mental health and mental well-being. And it's different from regular stress because it's long-term and persistent, often requiring intentional lifestyle changes or professional support to recover. So sorry to break it to you, bucko. We all need professional help. That's how burnout is defined. If you related to any of that, like, I love you. Did we just become best friends? Burnout is actually so insane. I cannot count the amount of times that I experienced burnout. To be fair though, I feel like a lot of mental health diagnoses, symptoms can overlap. So sometimes there is a very fine line, but often there is a distinction between all of them, but there's a fine line between whether you feel you're experiencing burnout, or it could be depression, could be anxiety. We're just playing Russian roulette with all this shit. So I can't count how many times I experienced burnout from my previous jobs. To be fair, there was so many other things happening at that time. I was dealing with a relationship that I just could not manage for the life of me. And then I realized it wasn't even about like the relationship dynamic, because it was a whole bunch of childhood things that I had not processed. So I was dealing with that in the middle of having to take care of like work responsibilities. And I just felt this chronic fatigue. I was going through a lot of adjustments in life, and the work responsibilities were just not ideal. So I figured I would go ahead and read some of the symptoms that burnout brings along. And you can do a little game. Take a shot for every symptom you resonate with. Fun. So, burnout can manifest both physically and mentally. Oh, I didn't even start yet. That wasn't a symptom. Okay. So, symptoms include chronic fatigue, insomnia, irritability, feelings of detachment from work, decreased productivity, frequent headaches, digestive issues, and difficulty concentrating. Give me the whole bottle. Emotional signs may involve cynicism, loss of motivation, and feeling helpless or trapped. There's that. Like I said, the symptoms tend to overlap. And so sometimes you could just feel like, oh my God, especially with pop culture and mental health, it's easy to just look at something and hear something and be like, oh my God, I have that. That's me. That was me and all my classmates throughout all of grad school. Like, oh my God, I have that. But actually, no, I do think that I have that. So I'm just gonna really quick rule out a diagnosis that tends to mimic burnout to like a T, which is depression. With burnout, again, typically it is job related, but let's be real, we can copy and paste it, because if you are a parent, like that in and of itself is a job. You know what I'm saying? We have a lot of roles that we play. So I'm going to go ahead and say it's role related. So it's characterized, again, by exhaustion, cynicism, and a sense of reduced personal accomplishment. It's more focused on energy depletion, tied specifically to one's work or external stressors. So it's essentially like a decrease in energy. If the stressors are removed, if you are no longer dealing or having to be in that role or environment, symptoms might improve. Depression, on the other hand, is a broader more pervasive mental health condition. So it affects multiple areas of life, not just work, with symptoms such as persistent sadness, loss of interest in activities, changes in appetite, feelings of worthlessness, and possibly suicidal thoughts. Again, burnout can cause like a lot of these things because if your energy is depleted, you're not going to want to do some of the activities that normally bring you joy because you just have no energy to do it, right? Depression can occur without specific stressors and often requires professional treatment, which again, a lot of the times burnout, same thing. Like you might have to talk to someone on a professional level to figure out a different game plan. But this is where the key difference is. So burnout is going to alleviate when work or stress in general decreases. It's almost going to like dissipate and you're going to be ready to kind of like, do the next thing. Depression is going to require a lot more mental health support just because of its persistent and possibly deeper rooted nature. So I'm probably not the best person to ask how you deal with burnout because I have left every single one of my jobs. Just my work is done here. I'm just not the type of girl to stay in a situation longer than I have to. Ha ha ha. It's actually funny because if you knew. But yeah, I just decided like when things got too much, I just dipped. That I can say was the truth. I was just talking about this with my sister actually yesterday, and I'm just like, oh my God, like I really don't have a resilient bone in my body because when things get too tough, immediately I'm like, how can I not feel this discomfort? But I remember the first job that I got, it was fresh out of grad school. I was so excited. I secured something. I was going to the city, traveling to the city. And at this point, I graduated with my master's in general mental health counseling. And grad school is funny. Grad school is a funny place. Like, we're expected to go into this institution and come out kind of just like having everything figured out. Side note, oh my God, I am so sore. I went to the gym yesterday and it actually worked. Anyway, and they want us to figure it out in a span of 2 years, which is so funny to me. But anyway, I got a job. I was so excited and it was doing therapy with juvenile adolescents in their homes. Except the kicker was that we don't focus on the child, we focus on their systems, and most of their system is going to be like school, friends, parents. And so we would equip parents with tools and skills based off a specific model that was taught to us in the hopes that it'll just flip things around. While I see what they were trying to do, don't get me wrong, a lot of success stories, a lot of it, but I just didn't resonate with the fact that we just got to assess the child, make sure they're okay, still breathing, all that stuff. But talking to them and getting like their point of view was not really the goal. Maybe I misunderstood the assignment, but I'm pretty sure I was told, you don't focus on them. Don't talk to the parents. It just wasn't my style. Of course, rule breaker over here. I would always talk to the kid, and every single time they would tell me that there's just no connection with the parent, and the parent would constantly do or make these dumb ass decisions that left the child feeling more unseen, more unnoticed, etc. So, over time, I think I don't even know. I didn't last a full year, but I was like, I can't do this. And then what's even worse is that, okay, whatever, you want to go based off the framework that we're using, but most of these parents didn't even want to talk. And I was a bilingual therapist. The generational toxicity that has to be broken is just insane. Talking to older people, talking to boomers, talking to, just the older generation, I was like, I didn't sign up for this. I didn't sign up for it. It wasn't necessarily mental health at all. I felt like I was babysitting not only the kids, but also their parents. And so wasn't for me. I got to make my own schedule, mind you, but I still had to drive into the city. And at that point, I was just It wasn't rewarding. Even if I finished, the only time that it felt rewarding was, I think I had one success story, and it was like, it was fine. It was like, oh, okay, like made a difference, great. But it just it wasn't working for me anymore. And so I made a decision because I didn't even want to get up. I didn't want to go to work. And it didn't matter, like, okay, after the workday was done, I was like, oh my God, thank God I get to go home. Except my commute was fucking a week long. So that didn't work, left. And I wasn't doing well. Like, I really wasn't doing well. Like, mentally, emotionally, I was depleted. I laugh about it now because, in large part, thinking out loud, it does have to do with my low level of resilience. And so I should probably work on that so things don't necessarily feel as overwhelming. You know what I'm saying? Therapizing myself. But that was my first job. Then the second job that I had was working at a clinic in Brooklyn. And that was actually fun because all of our peers shared the same trauma and emotional burnout. Like, I low-key wish that I did make more of my time there. It was just crazy though. Seeing about 80 clients a week. It wasn't even like a full session how it is in like private practice. It's like 30 minutes, it's a check-in. We can try to do like therapy, but a big chunk of the time was taken up on like catching up, especially if their life just had like so much going on, and before you know it, you maybe had like 10 to 15 minutes to try to actually get to like the root of the problem. So that was like burning me out a lot. And at that time I was going through like a ridiculous amount of like relationship problems. And so that's why I'm like, damn, appreciate the moment you are in. You are never going to be in this moment again. And so if something is stressing you, like, just take some inventory real quick. Is the thing that's stressing me taking away from the opportunities and friendships and networking that I could be doing in this present moment? I promise you, like, looking back, it's not worth it. It is not worth it. My ex and I are not even together. You know, everything happens for a reason. I genuinely believe in that. But damn, I just feel like I definitely could have made more of my time there. That eventually, like, I had to leave as well. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. You know what? I think I wouldn't say I'm a ghoster. You know what? Maybe I am a ghoster. I do that shit a lot. I'm just like, bye, thanks, this was fun, but goodbye. And I could just go on. But eventually it led me to having my own private practice. Because after that, I think I just paused on mental health for a while. I was working at my mom's job to kind of just like get myself together. And the whole time, the role, I think, oh my God, you know what's so freaking crazy? Again, just thinking out loud, we're talking about how burnout, you know, is energy depletion from essentially the role that you're playing. Could it have been that I wasn't actually burnt out at these jobs? Well, I don't know about the second one. Maybe the second one. Maybe that second job, yeah. But could it have been that I was actually burnt out from the role of being a girlfriend? And it just impacted my level of energy to show up in the ways that I could have in these jobs. All right, guys, that's enough for today. Anyway, but yeah, eventually, like, now I'm here and I actually want to get into like burnout versus Monday blues. So now that we kind of have the actual definition, if we're ruling out depression, I love people on the internet. I just read something that, you know what, was a fantastic idea. I fucking love that. Love that. Thank you. Focus. Ugh. That's the other thing about like ADHD. It's like, I just love life because there's just so many new ideas and new opportunities that are just boom, 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 different downloads. But then I forget what I was saying. Not because I'm a bad person, it's just because I can't focus. Now that we kind of differentiated between burnout and depression, we're going to put depression to the side. If you are experiencing a prolonged sadness that goes beyond a specific stressor or specific role, you already know what time it is. It might be time to talk to someone. There is no shame in talking to a therapist. We're fun, we're cool, and we'll let you in our little club if you let us. It'll be worth it. All the links to find the therapist are always going to be in the footnotes. But if you follow me on social media, you could also reach out to me there and get that started. So now we're going to shift our focus into today's title, which is going to be something along the lines of like, is this burnout or is it just the Monday blues, essentially? How do we differentiate between, am I burnt out at my job or in the role that I'm in? Am I just experiencing the Monday blues? So I'm going to break this down into 4 different key components. The first one that we're going to be mindful of is intensity and duration, which could also be used for a different activity, if you know what I mean. All right, let me stop. We talked a little bit about burnout already. So again, ruling out depression. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mija.
What's up? And let me hang up because I'm recording my podcast.
Yeah, Mija, está bien. Ciao.
All right, love you. Bye. Got some family drama going on. Oh my gosh. And that like gives me a little bit of anxiety. I feel like I have to play middleman sometimes. And it's like, tired, grandpa. Also, side note, I saw a thread, I think, yesterday saying that the reason why a lot of people are choosing not to have kids is because we're in the process of raising our parents. And yeah, that's pretty accurate. Okay, so we have burnout and Monday blues. We talked about burnout a little bit. It's more of a prolonged state in comparison to Monday blues, right? It's going to be a prolonged state. It doesn't matter if you have a nice weekend or take a nice vacation. The burnout is still going to be there, just waiting for you to get back. Monday blues, however, it's a little bit more mild. It's not that long lasting, typically just low energy at the beginning of the work week. And it's possibly due to you having a specific structure or lack of structure on the weekend, and then your body just trying to readjust to a more structured week. Super temporary. The feeling actually might go away midday or maybe like Tuesday, whatever, during the beginning of the week. It's not going to be long lasting. And you know what? It's actually true. I never thought about it like that because there will be a lot of times where I'm like, oh my God, like I'm dreading going into work. But then like by midweek, I'll be like, oh yeah, like this is great. Like I think it was just a readjustment from maybe a busy weekend that I had. Again, for me, it's just the lack of structure that my weekends have. I am all over the place. And then Monday rolls around and I'm like, oh my God, I have to get everything together. By the time I actually together, it's Thursday or Friday, and it just goes right back to being unstructured. But it is what it is. I'm also still behind on client notes. Like, what is new? I'm going to try to get that done tomorrow, though. The second component are going to be the symptoms and its emotional impact. We kind of already went over the symptoms for burnout: chronic fatigue, irritability, a lack of motivation, feelings of detachment and hopelessness from your job or your role. There's also going to be a sense that you're not making a difference. Maybe that imposter syndrome kind of creeps in. Like, what is the point? What difference am I making? Like, I'm expendable, which eventually over time could cause depression and could cause anxiety. So burnout might seem a little bit demure, but it's actually like, it's a serious thing, guys. It is a serious thing. And if you are experiencing any of these symptoms, again, you don't want to wait too long before it turns into a much bigger issue that ultimately, yes, it can be managed. The bigger issue can be managed, but I would rather you just try to work on it now, that it's not as severe as we know it could get. And then we have Monday blues. You might just feel super sluggish at the beginning of the week, and you might be a little grumpy, like, fuck this job. I gotta get ready for this fucking job. Like, you might feel grumpy, but there aren't like actual symptoms. You know what I'm saying? Like, you still get up, you still do what you need to do. And there are certainly no long-lasting emotional effects because, again, you're either back to yourself midday or the next day, it's really not that serious. And the key component to this, if you realize, oh, these are just the Monday blues, it's not going to impact your ability to focus or accomplish tasks once you get into the groove and flow and like once you get started. Whereas burnout, it's going to be questioning a lot of maybe that imposter syndrome. I'm not making a difference. And you just feel low motivation, helpless, like all these things. Third component is the functional impact. Burnout can possibly affect the entire pillars of your life. I talk to my clients about pillars all the time. You have your social, you have your career, you have your health, you have family, parenthood. And some of the impacts are going to be on decreased productivity, being able to be a good dog parent. It's going to affect your relationships and overall your health. And with Monday blues, there really is not going to be much impact because the effects are not as long lasting as burnout is. And the last component, the fourth component, you're going to want to maybe explore some of like the underlying causes. Burnout is most likely going to be caused by continuous stress, high demands, high pressure with work performance. You might feel a lack of control. There's going to be a possible disconnect between personal values and work values, which is low-key what was happening to me at my first job, where it's like, this doesn't resonate with me. This doesn't resonate with me because every being in the situation has their own experience, and it's just so foolish of me to focus on one end of the experience, and even worse with people who don't even want to change. Miss me with that. Sometimes burnout is also caused by a lack of support. If you have horrible bosses, managers, horrible peers, and you have no intention of leaving that job, like, yeah, over time, you're going to feel its effects. And then the underlying causes of like the Monday blues, it could intensify if you don't like your job, but I feel like you could typically differentiate between whatever. At the end of the day, this is just a job, and my main concern is just picking up that paycheck, but it's not really going to have like too many underlying causes aside from maybe, you know, the shift from the weekend structure back into getting into work mode. I hope that was helpful. I feel like I was just yapping away. I do just want to talk about one thing really quickly. I think with our generation, it's also hard because a lot of us are watching other people live life according to what feels good for them. They found their niche, they found that thing that works for them. And a lot of their stories talk about, well, I juggled like so many different things, and they had the capacity, they had the opportunity to be able to dabble in a lot of different things. Remember, one size shoe is not going to fit all. And a lot of us don't have the privilege of being able to dabble in a lot of different things that interest us because it's not going to pay the bills. And let's be real, in this economy, if we can breathe and get paid, yeah, we're going to need that option. So that is also something else you have to take into consideration. Like, a lot of us are just trying to find the thing that is just going to make us wake up and feel like, wow, this is it. This is amazing. But remember that sometimes in life, you do need to go through the array of emotions to actually experience it. You know, yes, you can experience life being super happy and you just have it all together and figured out. But I'm gonna be real, a lot of the good times in my life that I had came from experiencing the bad. So just gonna leave that there. But again, I feel like a lot of us resonate with the fact of like, oh my God, we have to wear so many hats because we have to find that thing that is us, that makes life worth living, essentially. Okay, so here's a list of things that we can, as a group, try. And we're going to try. The first, super not really mind-blowing. We all know this, and yet none of us do it. We have to set boundaries, people. If you are at a job that is asking a lot of you, it's so important to learn when to disconnect. It's really important to have structure. As much as we want to live this like eclectic life, You still need structure. And so in the workplace or in the role, you have to set boundaries. You have to know when it's on and a clear distinction of when we shut it off. Number two, we are going to prioritize self-care. My second session in my second episode, I talked a little bit how we can prioritize self-care on a budget. And again, like I said, the problem is not you. The problem isn't you. It is this damn economy. So we kind of have to make do with what we have. But again, we're going to roll in the ABCs. You have to exercise, movement, right? Exercise doesn't mean like become a gym rat and do all these things, but like you gotta move. You have to meditate. You have to learn what your hobbies are, especially if you are in a role that just takes a lot of your time and a lot of your energy. Like it's 2024, we are no longer living that way. Something has to give. You need to find things that you enjoy, even if it means your hobby being trying something new. Like that's a hobby. And then you can also do tiny little things. Take little breaks during the day. You don't have to be glued at your desk and on the computer. Like my guy, my girl, you were not put on this earth to work your whole life all day, 24 hours of the day. No, take little breaks, stretch, go for a little walk, prioritize your self-care. Number three, I don't know what kind of work y'all do. I don't know if delegating is an option, but we need to learn how to delegate. And we need to learn how to say no. We are some of the most overachiever peoples that I've ever met. And so what that means is that a lot of the times we won't even realize what's on our plate because we just give me 14 of them right now. You have to audit what's on your plate. You have to learn where to say no. You have to learn how to delegate. Be realistic about what you can currently do and what is going to send you off the charts. Number four, I really like this one because I'm all about shifting the perspective. Reframe your role. A lot of us are in jobs that we freaking hate. Not me though, be safe. Just kidding. There are days where I'm like, I don't know, figure it out yourself. I'm just being real. Like I don't know. But look at what your role is. There has to be something in your role that you do find meaningful. There is. Even if it means cleaning your workspace before you get started on work, even though you're about to dive into shit that you hate for the next 7 to 8 hours, or eating all the snacks in the pantry that your job provides. That's always fun. I used to love working at my mom's office. Shout out to my old boss. That pantry was always stacked, and it was always so exciting walking into the kitchen and being like, like what new snacks do I want to try today? Number five, you are going to want to create a support network, a support system. You'll be surprised again how much work trauma brings the people together. When I was working at Delta, like we all would just clock in and be like, was awful, but we understood that experience, and so we were able to kind of just like joke about it sometimes and laugh it off. And then other times, like if someone was like upset or angry that day, it's like, yeah, I get it. And we just understood each other, and having a support network really helps. If you don't have that at your job, if you're not someone that easily makes friends, we gotta explore that a little bit. There's nothing wrong with being alone. But if you are experiencing burnout and you feel like you're going at it alone, that's kind of a problem. So look for that source of connection. And number six, I'm never going to get tired of saying this. Sometimes professional help is needed. Sometimes you are way beyond the point of saving yourself from burnout. And a lot of the times it's really hard to come to terms with the fact that like your job is just not healthy for you, and it's slowly killing you, and it's hard to come up with an exit plan and all of these things. And so seeking professional help, it could just even be a career coach, you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes that is needed, and there's no shame in that. Like it just means that you want to change your life around for the better, and that's amazing. That is all for today. I'm gonna log off before my dogs continue to bark. Literally the amount of edits that I'm gonna have to make in this video to delete their barking, I'm going to go recover from this hangover. I'm going to get a little workout in, and I'm going to get myself situated for the Monday blues tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Hopefully, there are things on here that resonate, things that are practical for you. I'm sending you so much love, so much light. And remember, people, you do not have to have it all figured out. Sincerely, Cass. Make me believe it.